right, I am just going to build up right behind his eyes here a little bit more. Most of this won't be seen because it'll be covered by the hat. But I wanted to add a little bit more to the top of his head. I'm just going to add I don't like this little line here, so I'm just going to add a little bit to kind of cover that up, and just the bit of a seam that was left from adding that other, so it just blends in a little bit better. And just a little bit over on this side too. Okay, I think that looks better. All right, next we're going to make his little body, and I'm going to use a core wool sliver here, and I don't want it to be really big. So I'm only taking a small piece here that is about 6 inches long, and I'm going to kind of roll it into a ball shape. His body's kind of rounded, but a little oblong at the same time, and we're gonna build this up just a little bit. His body is pretty simple, Nothing real elaborate about it. Just a simple little round ball. And we're not even, the feet are going to go underneath his body, so you're not even going to see any legs at all. And we just have to add the arms. So I want to keep it rounded, but I want to keep this top part a little fluffy for attaching the head. And that'll also kind of give him a neck as well. I'm using my 36 needle here, but I'm probably going to switch to my 38. I do want his bottom to be flat, so he'll stand, but it's really not a big deal because, I mean, really it's going to be an ornament, so it really doesn't have to be flat, but if you want to stand him instead of making him into an ornament, this will help him stand a little bit better. And I'm going to switch to my 38 needle. The 36 just, for some reason, doesn't always work well with certain wools that I found. And depending on how tightly you wrap it, sometimes just using the 38. Alright, so it's a little thin, but I think the size is good. So I'm going to add just a little bit more because it's still pretty fluffy and I don't want it to get too big, but I do want to add a little bit more. And I'm going to try and keep it down towards the bottom and not add any more at the top here. So I'm just going to wrap that around there. And we're gonna work this pretty well. We want it to be nice and firm. So I'm probably gonna switch to my clover tool here in a second once I get this all attached. And then once we get it firmed down a little bit more, we'll see if we need to add any more. We'll still have to add our top coat, so that'll add a little bit more to it. So I don't want to go too big. Alright, get my clover tool. This has 240 spiral needles in it. You can see I just keep turning it as I go so it doesn't get, one section gets flat. I'm going to tighten up here a little bit, keeping the top fluffy. Alright, and then just always compare them to your head to make sure that it doesn't get too big. Alright, so I think he could go a little bit bigger, but I I might do that with my top coat. So I'm going to just work this down a little bit more up here. Okay, so you can see I can still squeeze it. It's not totally hard yet. But I can start attaching our top coat to it. Whoops, runaway body. All right, so I'm just going to look at this and decide where I want my belly to be. And I think this is going to be my belly. So I'm going to take my top coat here. And I'm going to just outline where I want his belly to be. I don't really have to do this. Just kind of gives me a guideline on where to go with my brown, because the belly will be white. And I'm going to do a fairly thick coat on this because I do want to build up his body a little bit more. So I'm just kind of following that line. It doesn't have to be exact because we'll put the white on over a little bit. And then I'm just going to tack it down. And I'm going to go on the other side. I want it to come across the bottom, but we're going to add his feet down there and then cover those up, so we don't necessarily have to put a lot on the bottom at this stage of the game. We'll cover the back. And see, I still have some white showing through there, so we're going to give this another coat, which I want to do anyway because he's still kind of on the skinny side. So I'm just going to add some more here. I'm still using my 38 needle for this. So I've thought about doing a live here on YouTube. I do lives over on Facebook every week, and I thought I might try and go live on YouTube at some point. If that's something that you would like to to do, to watch, drop me a comment down below and let me know. Then I can like answer questions in real time as I work on a project. I would just kind of do it as I'm working on a project, and if you want to come and chat with me, I'm here. If you don't care for Facebook. So I'm just getting this well attached. And let's see here. I think that'll work. Because once we get his arms in here, I'm just looking at the other one that I made here to see how it's looking. I think I might wrap, well, I don't want to go that way. I want to keep it up and down. I think I'm going to put some bits just along the bottom part here to kind of fill out his bottom end without making up here too much bigger. You could do this all, like, if you don't have any core, you could do it all with the brown and then just add the white for your belly. It just saves a little bit if you use the core wool. And you can use different color browns. When I get done here, I'll show you the other one I made. I used, I think it was Pumpkin Pie from Felted Sky, I want to say. And he's kind of cute too. It's more of a reddish color. Yeah, this is kind of more brown. Okay, now I want to go over that more with my my 40 spiral, but I'm going to add the weight here first. And let's see, where is my... I was using... I think I decided to not use the bright white for his belly, so I'm actually just using some core wool here to do his belly with. A little bit smaller. So I'm placing that, and I'm going right up next to the brown that we did there and attaching it. I'll probably have to add another coat here. And then right around the bottom, just tucking those fibers in. And I kind of like this to be not totally felted down. I kind of like it to be a little fluffy. Just trying to get both sides here so they look kind of the same. I have to add a little bit more over here, I think. we'll have to fix under his chin once we get this attached, because some of this fluffiness is gonna kind of cover up his chin. All right, so let's see here. All right, so I'm gonna pull a little of this off. There's not quite so much here. Now don't throw this away. You can use it in the center of other projects. I keep a jar behind me that has these little bits that I pull off that I can't really reuse for this project, but I can use them in the center of bigger projects. So don't throw those away. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach, make sure that it's, let me move it forward just a little bit. Attach these fluffy bits to the head, and I'm just going around and lightly attaching them at the moment to make sure I have the head position. If you have a hard time holding the head to the body, you can take a long needle and stick it down and attach it that way, or you could even use, if you don't have a long needle, you could even use one of your felting needles and just kind of stick it down in there, and that'll help you to hold it on while you're stabbing it. Now, because the head is fairly firm, I'm going to switch to my 40 spiral to attach. I'm just going right around and getting all that fluffy part into the head. And just periodically pick it up, make sure that it looks okay. We'll worry about covering all this stuff up when we're done. I like to wait until after I have my arms on to fill all that in. Make sure it's good and secure. You could also run a wire between the head and the body if you felt like you needed to, but this is just going to be an ornament, so. I'm going to take a few minutes here and using my 40 spiral, just go around the body and firm this up a little bit more. It's pretty well attached, so depending on, you know, how fuzzy you wanted him to appear, you could leave him as is or firm it up a little bit more. If you wanted to get really elaborate, you could actually add like some roving to the top and make like hair and then trim it off, but we're not going to go that route. We're just going to go really simple here. Okay, I think he's looking pretty cute. All right, we're going to start the hands next and the feet, so we'll get on to that here in a second. All right, let's make the paws now. So this is what we're going to make. I've kind of watched a number of different teachers and how they make their paws, and honestly, I change it up every time I make something new as far as what it's going to look like. I kind of got part of this from Fuzzy Fiber Arts. She has a YouTube channel and a Facebook page. But I didn't do it exactly the way she does hers. I kind of changed it a little bit on how I did mine. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. We need to make 4. I'll show you one. I have one already made, and then I'll make the other 2 off camera just to save some time. So here's what we're going to do. I have, this is just a thin piece of cardboard that I have cut to 10 millimeters wide. I just did 10 millimeters as opposed to inches because it's just a little bit easier. It's, oh, I don't know. Yeah, whatever that is, just shy of half an inch. So 10 just works easier. So I just cut out a piece of cardboard that's 10 millimeters. And then I have 2 different gauges of wire here. I have a 24 gauge and I have a 28 gauge. So I cut the 24 gauge, which is a thicker wire, about 4 inches. And then I cut the 28 gauge about 8 inches. And I just did a rough cut. It doesn't have to be exact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thicker wire and I'm going to lay it across the bottom of my cardboard about halfway. It doesn't really matter because you can adjust it. And then I'm going to take my thinner wire and I'm going to start in a couple inches or so. And you can, if you want to make it a little bit easier, what you can do is you can kind of wrap this a little bit here, just to kind of hold that wire in place. There's probably other ways to do this. It's just the kind of way I've done it. So I'm making sure that the wire is on the top of my bigger wire here. And I'm going to set this up against my cardboard. And I'm going to wrap this, pulling it fairly tightly around the cardboard and the wire 4 times. Just laying them right next to each other. I'm kind of giving them a bit of a squeeze as I go around the cardboard. Okay, so you see I'm doing that right towards the end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap this around the wire once, and I'm going to bring it up to just about halfway, a little bit more than halfway up the board, off the board. So you can see that. And then I'm going to take this and I'm just going to wrap the rest of it around here. Like so. And then very carefully pull it off the cardboard. And so we have our thumb and then we have our 4 fingers. Okay, can you see that? All right, so now I'm going to take my pliers. And actually before I do that, I'm going to pull this down. And I'm going to give this a couple twists here. Just all the way down. We won't be using all of this. We're going to cut this off, but just for the moment to kind of get it out of the way. All right, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to pinch the ends of the wires closed. It's not always easy to do. And I kind of want to pinch down here as well. I can separate these here so you can see better. So just pinch them closed. It doesn't have to be totally closed because it's going to get covered up with the wool anyway. Now you could leave it like this and start to wrap, but what I like to do is I like to twist them a little bit. So I'm just going to, I'm doing like a half twist. And I like to do that 4 times. And that just, you can see that kind of tightens it up there. So I'm going to go through and do that to all of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want to make sure they're still pretty close to the same size. And then we'll do the thumb. Sometimes it doesn't want to grab. All right. Okay, so there we have 2 hands. Now, the fingers on this one are a little bit longer than the fingers on this one, and that's probably because I used, I have a different wrap that I use to wrap my wires. So probably what I'll do is I'll use this cardboard again for another one, and then I'll use the other one for that, and then use the bigger ones for the feet, and then the smaller ones for the hands. But I'm going to do those off camera, so I'll come back on once I get those made and show you all 4 paws, and then show you how we're going to wrap them with the wool. I'm just going to actually kind of squeeze this down here just a little bit. So, all right, so I will come back once I have all 4 of them made, and we will continue. Alrighty, we got the hands made, and I covered 3 of them with wool already to save us some time. So I'm going to show you how to cover this one. And I am using, let me move these out of the way. I am using a pink bat. I am not sure. It probably came from, I'm going to say maybe Living Felt. I'm not 100% sure on that. But then you also need a little bit of glue. I'm just using a tacky glue. You can use Mod Podge or whatever. And I'm just pour it a little bit on a sticky note here. But I'm going to keep that off the mat because I don't want to get my fiber stuck into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draft out a little bit of this pink. And what I'm doing is I'm holding it really loosely with my left hand and gently pulling a little bit at a time out with my right. It's taken me a while to master doing this, and I know I still don't do it right all the time. But then when I have, it's probably a couple inches, I'm going to pull it off. You can add more if you need to, but I found that this amount covers pretty much all the fingers. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start with the thumb. You could start with any one that you want. And I'm just going to dip the end of the thumb into the glue. So you see I just have a little bit of covering on. And this idea I got from the Fuzzy Fiber Arts, I think that's her name. I mentioned it before, to do it this way, and I really like it. So I'm just wrapping the wool, and I'm keeping it nice and firm and nice and straight. See how nice and flat it is? And I'm wrapping it all the way up to the top, and then I'm just taking my fingers and just kind of squeezing in that top there where it's glued together. And then once I get done, I'm going to put glue over all of it, but I found that I can probably do most of these without gluing them first. So I'm just going to get that all the way around, and then I'm going to start the next one. Let me get some more glue on it. See if I can put it there without losing it. So sometimes it's easier to just spin your wire. Sometimes it's easier to wrap it around. So when I get up here to the top, I'm going to kind of go over the end of the top a little bit, and then I'm going to come back down, keeping my wire, or keeping my fiber nice and straight and tight. And I'm just going to pinch that top down a little bit to hold it. I have a baby wipe here off the side of my camera to wipe my fingers on. So I'm just going to push them down a little bit so I can move the next one up. And kind of like to weave them in. So where's my, yep, there I did. I went and stuck the end of it into the glue. I knew I would do that. So I'm gonna wrap it around to the top. I'm gonna squish that down a little bit to hold it. find the middle ones are a little bit harder to do because you got all the wires there wanting to catch your wool. All right, down to the bottom. Gonna move that one out of the way. Try and get this one up here. Let's see, I think I'm gonna go around this way. See if I have enough glue to make it through all of these. I have done these with wax, and I'm undecided if I prefer the wax or the glue. I might actually, maybe I might try and wax these and see. They do have a coating of glue on them, but I might wax them and see if they, because you get a lot of little extra fibers, which the glue doesn't really hold down very well, and I find the wax does a little bit better. Yeah, let's get glue all over my finger now. Alright, and then when I get down, this is a pretty wide piece here, so it's having a hard time getting down to the bottom. When I get down to the bottom, I'm just going to take it and just kind of wrap it around the main wire here. Like so, just to hold it in place. And then I'm going to take the rest of my glue here, and I'm just going to get a little bit on my finger and thumb and just kind of work it into each of those fingers, just to kind of help hold the fibers down. You see, I always end up with this little bit here at the end. It kind of hangs off, and that's where I think the wax might hold it better. But I haven't tried combining the wax and the glue, so I'm not 100% sure on that. I just used glue on the other one that I made. That one didn't go too bad. All right, I'm going to set that aside, get my fingers cleaned off here, and get the glue out of the way. I don't think I'll need more glue, but we'll see. All right, now let me take one of these that I've already done here, and let's see here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a little bit more. I'm going to draft out a little bit more wool here. And I'll show you how to finish up the hand with one of them, and then I'll finish up the rest of them and come back and we'll move on from there. So I've got some drafted out here, and I probably won't need all of this. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around the hand here a little bit and up in between the fingers. So I want this to be pretty thin. So I'm going to start down here at the wrist and wrap it up a little bit. Sorry, I forgot to turn off my phone. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of take it in between the fingers. And there's like no, this part has always kind of eluded me, but there's really no right or wrong here. You're just kind of building up the palm of the hand a little bit. And then I like to, once I've kind of gone between the fingers, I want to build up between the thumb here just a little bit. So I kind of like to wrap it around the thumb a little bit to build it up. And then once I've kind of gone around it a few times, I'm just going to wrap the rest of it around the wrist. You You don't want to go too thick here. This is going to get covered up because I'm going to cover it up with the brown anyway, so. And I'm just going to tack this down just so it doesn't come undone on me. Okay, so now I need to decide which is the top part of the hand and which is the bottom part of the hand. And for the first one, it doesn't really matter because you just have to do the other one. Make sure that you got your thumb in the right spot. So I'm just going to look at it here and see which I like better. So I think I like this for the palm of the hand better. So this will be the top of the hand. And the hand's going to be bent over. I just did that wrong. That's the palm. So this is going to be bent over this way. So this is, in a sense, my my right hand here. So he'll go on the right side of my little mouse. So what I'm going to do, in the way the mouse is holding the ornament, you probably don't even really need to do this, but like if your mouse wasn't going to hold an ornament, then you probably want to do this. So I'm just taking a little bit of wool here. I'm going to tack it down just to kind of pre-felt it a little bit. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it on the hand. Now it's a little big, so I'm going to just pull a little bit off here. But I'm going to lay it on the palm of the hand, and then I'm using my 40 spiral needles. Some people say to use the bigger needles, but I think the smaller needle actually works better. I'm just covering the palm of the hand with this, and I wanted to kind of drag it over to the front side. So I'm tacking it in all on the fingers, right in between the fingers. And then I'm going to drag it over to the other side. Do the same on both sides. Now, as you're tacking it down here, be careful of the wires that you have in there. And I'm doing shallow strokes because if you go too deep, it's going to just pull the fiber out on the other side. So try and keep it shallow. And go in between the fingers here. And I might put a piece across the top there too, just so that isn't showing. I should have felted this a little bit tighter, I think, down here. I might add some wax to this and see if it can help with that fuzziness. I might actually make this the top of the hand because we're not going to see the bottom. So then what will happen is I'm going to push the fingers together and this will be bent over, and then the thumb is going to go like so, and that's going to hold the ornament. So let's try and wax these and see what it does. I'd wait until the glue is dry. So what I have is I have this Dorland's wax medium. There's another kind that a lot of needle felters use, but I haven't been able to get my hands on any because it seems to always be out of stock. This I got at Michael's in the painting department. It's used for painters, but it works pretty good for needle felting too. So I'm only going to get a little bit on my fingers here, and I'm just going to work it into the wool, and I'm going to get into the hand as well. And I'm kind of hoping that it will help with those little fibers here. You could also trim them off. I noticed on some of these, like the wires kind of, you can see the wire on the top, but because the fingers are going to be into the ball, it won't be seen. So depending on if your mouse is holding a Christmas ball or not, you might need to make sure you bring the fiber up and over the fingers. And I'm going to take this down onto the hand a little bit. I'm just kind of working the wax. I need to kind of felt, I think, between the fingers a little bit more here. The one thing is this wax does not come off as nicely as the glue does. And I don't really have too many issues felting it with the wax on it. Just wipe off your needle when you get done. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry. I'm not sure if that's gonna help it or not. It might if we twist it a little bit. I'm gonna let that dry, and I will do up the other 3 hands, leg, feet, and then we'll come back and we will go from there.